Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshops. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna. But before we get started, we got to check in with my assistant. There she is. Hard at work, as usual. Aren't you? There, would you like that? Okay. All right, let's get to work, girl. Okay. Today's episode is going to be a little different. We just finished the year-long Newport Secretary, so we got to work on some small things. And usually a project, when I start a project, I'll sketch it out or draw it out and have set dimensions, and then find the wood to fit that, to best fit that. Well, this one we're going to do the other way around. I'm going to make projects, Christmas gifts that fit the wood that I have, most specifically the scraps that I have. Whenever I do a project like the secretary, I keep all the cutoffs until I am done, in case I need to repair something and I need it out of the same piece of wood. So I got a lot of scraps from that, and plus, like every woodworker, I save all of my any sizable scraps I save, and so the wood rack's getting full of those things. So I'm going to try to do some projects that use up those scraps. So I got to kind of shape and pick projects that I can use those scraps on. So without any further ado, here we go. All right, I'm gonna make a serving tray. I can't pronounce this cartoucherie or whatever it is. So I had this left over from another project. I cut it in half, so now I've got two of them, and I'm taking some of my cherry scraps, and I have double-sided tape. See, there's two different pieces here. What I want to do is route this profile so that these fit in there. So I've set up my pin router, and I've zeroed the bit is even with the outside, so the bit's sitting out here, so it's evened up with that. So as I follow this, I should be cutting the cherry piece, but I don't want to go all the way through because it's being held together. So I'm just going to cut a groove halfway through the board from the bottom, and then I can trim it off with the bandsaw and use a pilot bearing and trim, flush trim it the rest of the way. That's my theory. I haven't tried this yet, but since I got four seams to match, doing it by hand, which seemed to be kind of time consuming. So, and I didn't want to make a template just for these either. So we're going to see if this works. Well, I proved the proof of concepts, but it didn't exactly work out the way I wanted. They match up pretty good. I think that's good enough to glue. But when I did the flush trim, I used a bit it's a straight bit, and it's probably not as sharp as it should be. And I don't know if you can see that blew out here and here. So I need to cut it closer on the bandsaw, I think. And then I've got a larger, it's not a spiral, but it's more of a shear cut. It doesn't go clear around like a spiral does, but it does part way. So I should use that one. That's less prone to the tear out. If you got a straight bit, it's grabbing that whole thing trying to then with the one that's curved, it's going to try to shear it more. So lighter cut and the shear bit, I think that'll work. This one came out all right. All right, we got it all worked out. Found there's a little bit of chatter. So what I'm going to do, the first pass is move the fence back 1/16 of an inch, and then do a pass, and on both sides and on my other blanks, then readjust it so that this is lined up right with the edge of the bit, and then do the final pass. And I'm only going 1/4 inch deep, just enough, because the second step is to cut the excess away with the bandsaw, and then use a pattern bit to do the final, the rest of the material out of there. So I've just got 2 boards. I just took some hot melt glue. They weren't perfectly flat, so I just used some hot melt glue, which is got a little bit of gap filling abilities to it. Some of them I used a super glue. That was fit tight. And I even put some spacers in between the two so I didn't use up, but this one had a big flaw on the other side that I'm covering up. I'm going to cut away. So but anyway, that's so here's the one I just did. So see, it fits pretty tight, ready to glue. So we just got to get the others done. There it is. I got the first one glued up. So once that is dry, we'll curve, make some sort of curve on there and up and around there, and then shape the handle. So not too bad for using a bunch of scrap. All right, we got the serving trays all glued up, and they've sat overnight. So we're going to run these through the planer. They're not the same, the boards are not all the same thickness, but I did it with one side down, so they're pretty smooth on the one side, and I just got to make sure that they don't rock at all, and that I'll get good results through the planer and get them down to almost the same, smooth on both sides. Then we're going to take and kind of round the front and make a curve of some kind in here, maybe an S curve. And then we're going to round this. This will be the handle. So we'll round this over, round the end of that. Those kinds of things. We'll just kind of make each one a little bit different. This one's got a chip out at the end, so we're going to probably cut it off. This one I just had a short of this piece, so this will just be a shorter one. So let's get to work. All right, we got them all cut out. I ran through the planer and then cut the shapes on the bandsaw. So every one of them is a little different. So I think they turned out pretty good. Actually, I think these are fairly easy to do. I mean, I had this shape already made on some of these, and I just added some more strips. These are all 1/8 inch strips in here, so there's, I think, 4 or 5 of the walnut, and then there's 5 more in here, 4, 6, 4 of ash and 2 of cherry. But you can mix and match, but you do have to cut the 1/8 inch strips in order to get the curve, and then you would have to make a form. Now you could use this bottom board, if longer, as the form to do that. If you were making a bunch of these like I did, these were actually about 1 3/8 inches wide, the strip, when I formed them. And so I cut them in half on the bandsaw, and he gave me two, so you could make a form that was 1.5 inches wide, and get 1.5 inches wide strips, and make two with one glue up. And then that procedure on the router table for matching the curves, that makes this way easier. I could have used that on when I was doing the shell and I needed the mirror image. That works pretty well. So, and you can cut the shape with just a hand jigsaw. You don't need a bandsaw. You know, so router table is and a way to cut the thin strips is the only hang up with doing that. So I got some handwork to do. I got to round the handles. I'm going to put like a small 1/8 round over around the edges, top and bottom, and then we'll probably put some rubber feet on them. So there we have it. I drilled some holes in the backs of these for some feet. I've got these little rubbery feet that fit in those holes. So these are 5mm, but a 3/16 bit works, and it has to be 5/16 deep. So I did that on all of these, and so I just have to do the final sanding to get this kind of done. All right, these are pretty well done. You see that comes out pretty nice, if I can focus it. So before I put a finish on it, I'm going to try to personalize these and put the name. The Kansas City Woodworkers Guild has a laser engraver, so I'm going to personalize these, and then we'll put a finish on it, and then we can put the feet in. So they're basically ready. They're basically done. So makes for a nice gift, I think. So on to the next thing. All right, we got these all done, and I got these personalized, each one of them. And then on the back, I did a maker's mark. So just came up with that. That seemed like appropriate since it's being made on Papa's workshop. So these came out really nice. They just need some finish, and then put the feet on, and they'll be ready. But I did screw up. My wife really likes these, and she thinks I need to make another batch. So we're going to be making some more. But these are it for this video. All right, here's the other scrap project I'm working on. This is going to be an Ingrain cutting board. Now this is a lot of sapwood. These are basically throwaway scraps. See, it's just little pieces all glued together. I've trimmed this off, so now I'm going to slice this into about 1.5 inch pieces, and then glue them together so that the end grain is showing. Got a stop block here so I can get repeatable results for the width, and then go. You don't want to trap it between, you don't want to use the fence as your thing. You don't want to trap a loose piece between the blade and the fence. That's a recipe for disaster. But this allows me to do it. And when I push forward, the stop won't be there. So we'll just cut those up, and then we can glue it up. Well, I glued this up last night. So I need to kind of take this apart and take a look at it. right. That came out pretty well. What I did was I kept them in order after I cut them, but then I flipped every other one. So we've got this design kind of pattern through there. Because all the blocks weren't quite the same size, so that way it just followed. Now this has got a lot of sapwood, so I don't really know how well that's going to work as a cutting table. But we're going to let this sit for a couple days. Make sure that the glue is all dry since this is so thick, and then we'll have to take it to the drum sander. You can't run this through a planer. You're not going to get good results. It's just going to try to chip out, and in worst case, it's going to try to throw like the end piece out at you. It just is not safe. Joiner or planer. So this has to be done either with hand sanders or a drum sander or something like that. Belt sander would probably work good. This side's I had on the bench, so it's pretty flat. But I just had one that wasn't quite the same thickness as the other. It's about a 1/16 lower right there. I don't know what happened there, but so anyway, we're going to let that sit for a while. All right, I'm not showing much on I made this cutting board. There's all sorts of cutting board deals on the YouTube, but I saw this done, I don't know, several years ago somewhere. Had to put two handholds in here in the end. We're going to do it with the dado blade. And so I'm going to clamp this to the fence and then raise up the saw blade and make that circular cut. Oh, there we go. So I'll take on the router table and round that over and this as far as I can go. The rest I've done by hand. But it makes a nice little handle. Hand fits right in there. So, all right, here's the finished handle for everything's rounded over. So I'm just gonna need to sand that top. I need to get some more coarse sandpaper. All I've got is 220, so I need to probably start out at 100 to get those lines from the drum sander out of there, and then put some soak it in mineral oil for a bit, and that'll be ready. So. All right, that's going to be it for this episode. I want to thank everybody that sent me the great ideas and pictures of my next project, both in the comments and an email. Really appreciate that. Still haven't quite decided what I'm going to do. Got my hands full with these Christmas gifts. I've got a few more things to come up with. I think I'm going to have to make some more of the serving trays. But I might make some boxes and maybe another cutting board, trying to use up my scraps. But that's it for this, and thanks for watching. Got any comments, please put them down, and subscribe if you like this. And if you like this kind of content or techniques, what you'd rather see coming in the future. Thanks again.